Fighter Kofi Jantuah, we have seen on many occasions over the years on this channel.
Über 12 Runden. Ich rufe in den Ring für die rote Ecke aus Las Vegas, USA, Kofi Jantuah.
So here he comes then, the 35-year-old now, a Ghanaian based these days in Hamburg. And you look back at his records over the years, he's only been beaten 3 times during what has been a fairly distinguished career, and defeats have all been against highly significant opponents. Arda Abraham back in 2006 fighting for the IBF middleweight title. Kasim Uma, the Ugandan, for the same title a year before. And he was then beaten by Jermaine Taylor. How much desire, Bob, has he still got to succeed?
Yeah, that's the question. I mean, Jantuah, well, he's been in Hamburg for a while, sparring and working out. He's also sort of going back to Vegas, where he's lived for years, and he's been very popular over there since I saw him getting on for, well, it's 10 years ago, actually, looking at the dates when he beat Daniel Santos. Danger man. I don't know what's left, but he's been busy sparring with Mahir Oral, who should have been here. The original match was Pirog against Oral. Oral got a chance to box Arda Abraham. Jantuah stepped in.
You might have seen this guy fleetingly across the many forms of media. You can now pick up on the internet. Dmitry Pirog, unbeaten Russian middleweight title holder, who also holds the WBO Asia Pacific title and the WBC Asian boxing title, both of which he's held for the last couple of years. He's 28 years old. He's unbeaten in 13 pro fights, 11 of which have ended in stoppage. Held the domestic title for 3 years, and we expect good things from him. He's very, very quick indeed, isn't he, around the ring?
Yeah, I like him. His moves are good, his balance is good, he thinks about what he's doing, and they're not worried about moving him. He's 29 tomorrow. They want to get on with it. They think he can win a world title. We'll see. He needs to deal with Jantuah if he's going to do that.
Sich zu erheben für die Nationalhymnen der beiden Boxer.
So, all stand for the anthems of both the fighters. Back in track.
The guy winding the gramophone up at the back of the hall has got to be fired at me. Goodness me. Never mind, on with the boxing.
So we've just said, how much desire is there left of this guy? He's still, well, it's still a big question. This is only his 4th fight since that defeat to Abraham back in 2006. Also his first return to Germany since then. He's been to the USA and Spain, where he fought a draw against Ruben Diaz for the IBF Intercontinental middleweight title, and Ghana, where he was last year for a 4-round stoppage of Ricardo Manuel Genaro of Argentina. Well, he's got youth on his side, speed on his side, and you think that maybe he might just have a bit too much for Kofi Jantuah tonight.
Die Nummer 2 der Weltrangliste, Dmitry Pirog.
Yeah, got to say, another impressive crowd inside here. Every time we come to Germany, always a good crowd. I was reading something today about how well boxing is doing again in Germany these days.
Punktrichter Jürgen Langos, Sergio Silvi und Predrag Alexic. Der Mann im Ring ist
the referee
Zanoni.
Zanoni then of Italy.
Und hat das Wort.
Okay, good luck. No punch here, no punch here. Okay, break. Okay, good luck.
Well, those of you with good memories will remember Jantuah and his punching power and what he's capable of doing and how much havoc he can wreak. Remember the huge left hand against Rubio, and then Jose Luis Rodriguez, as seen on Eurosport. But this might be a new guy for you in Pirog. You say he's been relatively busy over the last couple of years. He's got a bit of time to make up. Relatively inexperienced for a 28-year-old. So he's got to get a move on.
Well, they're moving in quickly, taking on Jantuah now. The 14th pro fight. They believe in this guy. He's already ranked number 3 by the WBO, but that's probably, well, is a little bit generous. But if he does a job on Jantuah, then he's a serious man to keep an eye on. He's a decent boxer, knows what he's doing. I wondered whether he'd come out and try and stamp his authority on Jantuah right from the first bell. He's not. He's having a look.
Had a few problems in the first round against Tolgonbayev. He was in real trouble in the first round. He was on the ropes and he was struggling. It took him a couple of rounds to settle down in there.
Well, that was last December, his last fight. Maybe, you know, just anything can happen with that. But if you don't want a habit of starting slowly, this is what he can do. Little clusters like that, accurate, placing them well. Jantuah just thinking, he won't know a huge amount about Pirog, I guess. Though he's been in Germany, I don't think he's sparred with him. They say he's not.
Yeah, it was a superior strength, movement, and the sheer volume of punches that eventually wore down Tolgonbayev. And you'll see it as the fight goes on.
Yeah, and Pirog's the natural middleweight here, although Jantuah's just about as tall as him, not much between them. His best days were welterweight and light middleweight. Now he's still capable, but he's going up in weights as he gets older, 35 years of age. Variation
of punches as well from Pirog to all destinations, isn't there? There's nothing quite really predictable about him.
No, that's a good stiff jab he just landed as well. He's sharp.
Couple of decent hooks to follow that up as well from Pirog.
Yeah, crowd liked it as well, and you can see why. Left hook to the head. That troubled Jantuah.
Yeah, Jantuah's felt that. Following it up again, comes back with a left hand of his own, just to remind him that he's still in there.
Yeah, he needs a punch to get himself into this fight, because he can't stay on those ropes and just take punches. He was hurt by a left hook.
Well, we wondered about with the big question, and only 4 fights since that loss to Artur Abraham. He hasn't really been active. Looks in decent physical shape, but you really can't draw an awful lot from that.
No, he's not been boxing at any kind of level, and he's not doing. He's getting in trouble here on the ropes. Jantuah having to soak it up, no option. His legs did a little dip when Pirog landed that cracking left hook.
Be interesting to see how many of those punches landed. There was very few off target from Pirog in that first round. Really impressive stuff from the Russian.
You see, he's just mixing head and body, just standing in range, placing them. I like the way he varies his power as well. He just places the odd one and then he drills one home as well. And he's good senses. That was the left uppercut. And there was a left hook in there as well. And Jantuah I think he was surprised by the accuracy of Pirog's work.
Well, there's only been one occasion, or two occasions rather, when his fights have gone the distance. That was for the Russian title back in 2006 against Tetvusian, who I think fought Froch, didn't he?
That was his last fight, Tetvusian, yeah, and earlier he went 12 rounds with Howard Eastman. That was an ambitious fight for what was Pirog's 4th pro outing, and he won the Russian middleweight title over 10 rounds. His other one, we saw 10-round decision over Gayard Ayatovich, who came in fairly short notice and could survive pretty well against him because he looked after himself. Pirog won just about every round. So he's not had anybody telling him, hey, you're not that good yet. That was a low left hook.
Brief flurry from Jantuah at the start of this second round, but again, as soon as he opens that defense up, these volleys of punches are flying in from all directions.
Well, Jantuah's feet are much slower than they used to be. He's not getting in range.
Again, great body movement from Pirog, dancing all over the place, making himself such a difficult target for Jantuah to hit. And again, probing a little bit, but Jantuah finally feeling as if he better do something here, just to a brief bit of respite.
Well, he can punch Jantuah, and if he does get close, then he will test Pirog's chin, but at the moment he's not really getting the punches off. He's getting beaten to the punch. There again, Pirog landed a right hand, step back. The counter missed by a distance.
Crowd getting behind the Russian now as well.
And Jantuah's not being able to match his work rate either, so problems. He needs a punch from somewhere, Jantuah.
Just the sheer number of punches during that sequence then, 5, 6, 7, that all landed. Again, to a degree of cleanliness and power on the end of them.
Yeah, left hook a minute ago from Jantuah, but no real weight behind it. Cuffing sort of shot.
Surviving at the moment is Jantuah. A little else as the hooks come in once again.
I like the way he thinks about his work, Pirog. He's not worried. He knows he has to take the odd one because he's going to stand in range some of the time, a lot of the time, because he wants to get his punches off, but he's quite quick, quite accurate.
But again, ducks easily out the way of the rather slow and rather predictable shots coming back at him.
But so far, not the same kind of effect on Jantuah that the punches had in the first round. So, clear round for Pirog, but a slight improvement for Jantuah.
Well, could be a question that's asked perhaps, does he have the ability, Pirog, to actually finish a fight with a punch? We know he can punch and he can move, and the speed and everything else that goes with it. Has he got that one power shot that's going to end a fight?
Well, he has at a certain level, but Jantuah, you know, even if he is old and slower, he's a tough guy. He knows his job. He's been in there and done it. He took 12 rounds from Artur Abraham well enough. He was in with Kasim Umaroke, a weight down for 12 rounds. You know, this is a seasoned operator. He won't worry about taking a few punches here and there.
Round 3.
Well, Jantuah's up and out there early enough. he try and get some success of his own? Can he test Pirog at some point during this fight, just as we can begin to find out whether or not Pirog is able to take a punch? We know we can dish them out. We know what his attributes are. We don't know what his weaknesses are. Just that was a good right hand that from Pirog. Follows it up with again another selection of hooks, and again this volley of punches has Jantuah moving back onto the ropes. He's got to get off, which he does.
Yeah, Jantuah started quite positively, wanting to come forward behind the jab, trying to get some more snap in his work. Pirog got him straight back under control. Good sharp punching. He's thoughtful, not rushing anything. Pirog will be well aware that this might well go the distance, but at the moment he's picking Jantuah apart. Left hook from Jantuah landed a bit high, but at least got through.
Maybe he's one of these super intelligent guys that's using these people really as practice, so he can just sharpen up his full range of skill en route to one of the big titles, the big championships.
Well, I think this is what he is. I think he boxes this way. He's thoughtful. He's good at mixing things up. He's accurate. He looks for openings and he works for them. Jantuah trying to catch him with a left hook counter. He's almost done it a couple of times.
He's not afraid to go in at close quarters, is he? And mix it up in there, Pirog.
No, because he's got the speed, and Jantuah's not reacting fast enough to make that a difficult, dangerous thing to do. All things are relative, obviously, but he keeps taking the odd left hook back, but he's just bamboozling Jantuah with the pace.
Well, no doubt he'll be watching tomorrow night. Arda Abraham, who was fighting, I think he's in Berlin, isn't he?
Yep.
He's in Berlin. That would make for an interesting night. Again, another hook goes underneath that guard and rattles the chin of Jantuah. He's soaking up an awful lot of punishment, but as he said, we know that he is capable of taking plenty of punishment.
Well, a lot of Pirog's punches are arm punches, no real weight behind them, but then he suddenly steps in and drops a harder one in. It's pretty clever what he's doing. He's not wasting energy. Now the left hook again, and Jantuah acknowledged that little nod of the head. Telltale reaction from him.
Tries to come back, assert a little bit of authority as he leans in to try and get some leverage. Left hand from Jantuah, brushed off by Pirog. Tries to conclude the round with a hook, misses wildly, and another round in the bag for Pirog.
Yeah, just mixing the jabs up, just picking the punches, drew the jab from Jantuah and dropped the right hand over the top of it. Thinking all the time. Jantuah just that little bit slow in his reaction, so his punches are falling short all too often. That was a good left hook halfway through. Third punch of a combination, then he doubled it up again.
Quick word on that fight with Arda Abraham tomorrow. Still lots of talk about whether or not how long he can go on at 160 pounds or operating in the middleweight division, whether or not he's struggling to make it yet again.
Well, I thought he looked okay at the weigh-in. When he fought Raul Marquez last year in the fight that was called off, I thought he looked absolutely dreadful at the weigh-in. The fight was called off the next morning.
Ever going to get it on with Pavlik?
Okay, well, you'd love to see that, wouldn't you? But he's got to get through Mahir Oral, so tomorrow he should do that on paper. But if you're struggling for the weight, anything can happen.
Back here, round 4. Pirog in total control here. And Jantuah is just existing in the ring and doing very little else at the moment.
Yeah, he needs something to encourage him, doesn't he? He needs to get in there and land a good, solid punch and get Pirog's attention.
He'll be encouraged, though, won't he, due to the fact that he's taken so many punches, and there's been maybe the odd one or two that have just hurt him a little, but nothing much. Maybe this is the moment. Again, he's wildly swinging. His timing is miles off. Jantuah takes another couple of hooks and then shots to the body, and then a great right hand and followed up with another left hook. They're coming so fast you can't keep up with them.
Yeah, he's taking them and he's watching them coming. He's not really getting surprised by them, but he's just got no answer, no defence to them. He's always been a little bit loose defensively, Jantuah, but his pace and his power made up for that at all but the very highest level.
He's good to watch, isn't he, Pirog?
Yeah, he is. Keeps you interested, and he mixes things up quite nicely.
Nothing predictable about the performance from the Russian tonight. And switches to try and work to the body. Jantuah can't get his jab. It's almost like he doesn't want a jab, does he? Because he knows what's going to come back the other way at him. Probably about 5 or 6 punches before he can get his arms back into position to guard his chin.
Yeah, it looks as if Jantuah's losing a bit of belief in himself. He's proud. He's going to stick this through as long as he can. He's not getting unduly hurt because Pirog isn't putting everything into the shots.
It's going to worry Pirog at the moment that he's not. If he doesn't put him away, would it worry him?
No, I don't think so. I think he's just that sort of patient guy who's taking his time, pleased that things are going well. Looks very, very confident, doesn't he? His body language is that of a man who just really believes in himself and believes he belongs in there. He's not rushing anything at all. I don't think he's particularly going for the stoppage at the moment.
Jantuah able to do nothing to try and shake him out of his groove. Fairly static target these days. Jantuah doesn't move as well as he used to, but then you wouldn't expect him to. And 35 years of age.
No, he's just got no answer to the jab either. He's standing right in front of Pirog, and his movement's not good enough, and his guard's too wide, and Pirog just slotting the jabs through.
Well, Jantuah's waiting for Pirog to tire. The news is he doesn't. It's exactly the same against Togonbayev. A little bit of success for his opponent in the first round when he was in a bit of trouble, but he just wore his man down in the end. Here we go. Great hook, right hook there, wasn't it? Snap the chin back a bit.
Der Zwischenstand nach Runde 4 lautet: Richter A wertet 40 zu 36 Pirog. 36 Pirog. Richter B wertet 40 zu 36.
You can see the scores coming out at the end of the rounds, but I don't think there's any doubt in anybody's minds who's in charge of this particular bout. Just a reminder, coming up, Dennis backed off against Stefan Kretschmann. 12-round heavyweight contest, and Herbie Hyde. Round 5 then.
Yep, in case anyone didn't catch that, that was 40-36, all 4 rounds to Pirog and all 3 cards. The WBC still experimenting with open scoring, but I guess it's getting more established now, isn't it? The experiment's going on a very long time. I mean, 2 minds.
For the punter, for the punter, if you're out there, at least you've got a view, haven't you, of what's going on, and there's unlikely to be those controversies at the end, or the boos and everything else for what you perceive as being a wrong call on a fight.
It can affect the way a boxer reacts, but you know, then what other sport does a man not know how he stands in mid-competition? You know, it's a difficult one. I can see both sides, frankly. It doesn't seem to bother me. I thought it would, but it doesn't bother me that people are telling me that Pirog's win every round. I know that. So at the moment, it's not. In this fight anyway, I don't think it's a big deal.
So back to work goes Pirog in this 5th round. Jantuah trying to make it a little bit more difficult for him. He was offering, certainly in that opening minute, a little bit more to make this a contest.
I just think his feet are too slow to get him into position now, Jantuah. He needs to suddenly find himself in punching distance and just let a big one go. I don't think he's going to work his openings because he can't. His feet aren't moving quick enough.
Well, when we asked the question about desire, I suppose 4 fights in 3 years partially answers the question anyway, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And he's been sparring in the lead up to this with Mahir Oral, you know, helping him out, acting as a sparring partner, and he's boxing a bit like one at the moment, Jantuah. He just looks like an old pro, doesn't he? Who's been there, done it, knows his way around the ring, and is just trying to give Pirog a workout. If something happens in the fight, if he senses that he's tiring or something like that, then he may be able to come on. Did that right hand bother him? I think it did.
Yeah, it did. And another right hand that followed it did exactly the same. He covers up once more to deny that hook. That left hook again, a route to his chin.
It didn't wobble him or anything, but he just felt it. There was a reaction.
Right.
Well, this is a 12-round fight, remember.
Yeah, and Pirog's not done 12 rounds yet, so he'll be pleased to do that, I guess, but he's won 5 out of 5.
Tell about whether or not Jantuah has got the stamina in the later rounds. Like you said, he's been around a long time. He knows his way around. He knows what to do to survive.
Yes, he does, and Pirog's not really stepping on the gas. Pirog's quite happy to keep the fight at this pace. He's just picking holes in Jantuah, exploiting it, piling up points. He's not really gone for broke at any stage. He's not really just decided, I'll get this guy out of here.
Only 3 times, remember, he's been beaten, as we said at the start of the program. Manuel Gomez and Kasim Umar, followed by Ada Abraham just a few years ago. They're all significant names on a distinguished career. It's never quite got there. He's always been there or thereabouts, hasn't he? But he's never just quite had the class that has been needed. And here we go again.
Yeah, first time I saw him was when he beat Gilbert Eastman way back 1999 at the Elephant and Castle, and he stopped Gilbert for a Commonwealth title at welterweight. And then saw him in a fight after that again when he shocked Daniel Santos, the Puerto Rican, who became a double world champion in 5 rounds at an All-American Sports Park, unusual venue in Las Vegas, but open air.
Beat that other great British boxing institution, didn't he? O.J. Abrams.
That was the last time we saw him here, I think. That was at Doncaster Dome on an undercard somewhere, some way ago. But yeah, he was young then, and now he's the old pro who's soaking it all up, sucking it up, trying to make something happen when he can. Got a jab in at least.
That's a night's pay in this for him as well, which is certainly going to be useful for a man who's been, as we said, pretty inactive.
Yeah, that's right. Last fight went home to Ghana. Probably that was little more than an exhibition for him. A homecoming, a party, if you like. But Pirog not really building on his first 4 rounds yet for me. He's just doing the same things. I'd like to see him try and get a stoppage, try and work out just a way of driving Jantuah back and unloading some heavy shots, 3, 4, 5 in a row. At the moment, he's still doing the same type of thing, which is effective enough in point scoring and keeping Jantuah under control.
This was the step up in class. This was the type of opponent that he'd never been in with before, that was going to test him, make things or make life a little bit more difficult than he'd had before.
Yes, and in that context, this is a very good performance, isn't it, from Pirog, because Jantuah's never been in the fight, really. It's been a move behind all night long.
Now, this is the question you found yourself asking, watching him in that fight against Toygonbayev. It was after he did stop him in the 5th, but after 4 rounds, it was getting very similar. He was following the same pattern as this. He eventually wore him down. Well, you asked him to produce then a series, a flurry of punches, which found their home, and he did. But it looks as if he's tiring a little bit, doesn't it, Pirog?
He'll be
or is
thinking,
he just taking a breather?
He'll be thinking, well, there's 12 rounds here. This guy's not just crumbling. I'm not breaking him up. That is its own problem. Will he get frustrated? Will he lose a bit of concentration? I don't know. We'll see. But he's picking his punches still with good accuracy, good variety.
Yeah, I mean, it's Jantuah at the end of the round that's just upping his work rate, getting a little bit of success. He didn't do enough to win the round. But his contribution is gaining.
Well, those punches, the last couple missed. Jantuah blocked one, the other one just glanced off his face. But there's nothing wrong with the accuracy.
There's going to come a time, though, isn't there, when he's going to step in with somewhere where he can't actually just bend and just bend, move in, pick and choose his angles, get the punches off. There's going to be something coming back at him.
Yeah, of course, there's going to be some lively young guy who's in there who's going to test him at least for a while, and then we'll find out more about him. He's got Jantuah under control halfway through the fight.
Still got the same problem with the sound there. Then. Here we go then. Round 7. Previous 6 been won by Pirog in the white trunks. Kofi Jantuah, 35-year-old Ghanaian who's been in with some of the big names of the last decade. He is a survivor and he's fighting as such, but maybe he's just beginning to cut loose a little bit, not too much. No real sense of adventure prevalent just at the moment, but there's a bit more movement from him and there's a few more punches being thrown, and he only needs to land one. We know what wreckage he can cause when he throws a big left hand and one of them lands. We've seen it a few times in his career before.
Yep, that's just what he needs now, but he's got to want to do it. He's got to get in position and throw it. At the moment he's just getting beaten to the punch. He's never quite unbalanced, never quite in range, and the lack of speed is what's just letting him down here, and he can't really find that at 35. He's just got to hope he lures Pirog into some kind of mistake, or the Russian tires.
Yeah, as you said, he's never been the Russian in a 12-round fight before, and we talked about how much stamina he had. This short right hand then that inadvertently found a target then from Jantuah, and it was just the movement of Pirog's head into the punch's path.
But look at the response from him. You know, those are stiff jabs. That woke him up almost. He said, okay. Now he's complaining to the referee. That's amateur night. Complaining to the referee and took a left hook. He's in there to do the fighting. Leave the referee to sort the infringements out. He felt a punch from Jantuah straight around the back. Well, there'll be a few of those when he gets up to the top level.
This is it. Remember, he's 28 years of age. They're moving him on quickly, and that is the reason why.
Yeah, 29 tomorrow. They don't have a lot of time. Turned pro at 25, so you know they've done reasonably well with him. They've never matched him too softly.
That was a good left hook, that again from Pirog. Wild lunge following it up from Jantuah. But you usually find a time in the fight where at least one punch goes the way of the stronger puncher, in this case, which we know is Jantuah.
Well, it was as a light middleweight. He can punch, but look there, his feet are nowhere near in range, and he just lunged and swung with the left hand.
Time that took to arrive at his destination as well. I'm surprised there wasn't anything coming back over the top of it. And get a strong conclusion. And another round in the bag for Pirog.
Well, it's a comfortable night for Pirog so far. 7 rounds out of 7. It have been what they hoped for, no doubt. And he's target practice at times, Jantuah, just not reacting quickly enough. Pirog doing pretty much what he wants.
Herbie Hyde is up next against Gabor Halas of Hungary. An 8-round cruiserweight fight.
Second round. Runde 8. round 8.
There we go then with the 8th round.
There's no doubt that the Jantuah of 5 or 6 years ago would have given him much more of a test. Because he was so much quicker, he'd have gone in and had a rumble with him and said, okay, you're clever, you can box well, you're accurate, but you know, have a war, let's see how good you really are. Well, at the moment, Jantuah, because of his age, is having to rely on a bit of cunning. He's just having to wait for openings, but he's having to wait far too long.
Funny, there is a bit of the Hopkins effect, isn't there, about the way people think now. They think because he can do it up to 42 and he's this fine physical specimen that everybody is able to perform better as they get older. Well,
Jantuah's not performing better, but he's still capable, and he happens to be in with a pretty good opponent. And you know, at ordinary level, Jantuah can earn his living around the circuit, I'm sure, for quite a while yet. I don't think he's going to be world class again, but he's
got caught with his defence down there.
Yeah, he was hurt by that left hook, went back to the ropes.
Yeah, that's the survival instinct kicking in there, isn't it, from Jantuah?
Well, what he does is watch. He doesn't lose concentration, even when he's stunned by a punch, as he was then. He just watches what happens. He doesn't lose his cool, and therefore he recovers because he's not caught by surprise by too much.
And trying to take him on a trip, isn't he? Pirog round the ring, constantly on the move, changing angles.
Yeah, that's the right thing to do. Just mix it up. If he's not going to just try and drive him back with one huge attack that, you know, some 30-second burst to try and stop him against the ropes, then he's got to just mix it up, move around.
That was a half-decent left hand from Jantuah.
Well, Pirog looking a little bit tired, standing in front of him a little bit too much, but maybe he thinks this old guy can't hurt me, you know. Good right hand on the chin again from him, but Jantuah took it.
Still fairly unfazed by the punches of Dmitry Pirog, then again swinging wildly, getting nowhere near his target.
Yeah, the right hand was just a fraction short, wasn't it? He saw the opening, he threw the jab, fell short with that. The right hand, 4 or 5 years ago, that would have landed, not this time.
It's been 9 and 10 rounds a couple of times, Pirog, over the years.
Well, a little nod of respect from him at the end of that round. I think he needs to up his pace now.
So Jantuah, what he's saying in there, I mean, what were they realistically expecting from him tonight, just to provide this resistance? I mean, did they ever feel that he was capable of winning this fight?
You would hope so, but I guess they know now what the score is.
Paying a bit of a price for the inactivity over the last few years. As he said, being used these days more as a sparring partner. Round 9 then of 12. And Pirog has won every single round so far.
Really, the questions now are, is Pirog going to get tired and walk into something? Unlikely, I would think, because he's dictated the pace so far. He's controlled pretty much what he wants to do. Or is he going to go for a stoppage? Is he going to start to put more meat in his punches, or is he just happy just Just keep drilling them through like this.
Or is there any more meat to come in these punches? I mean, we're in round 9 now. Do you think we had this question raised earlier on, whether or not he has the punch to take out an opponent like this? We've seen him take out lesser opponents. The first time he's in with what has been a serious player, hasn't really shaken him just yet.
No, that's right. He did in the first round, and then Jantuah got adjusted to that. He got adjusted to the power and the accuracy, really. And he's been stung once or twice, but you're right, he's never looked like going down or being badly shaken up. Even that uppercut, he didn't see that one. That was a rare one. He was caught napping, but just took it. And yeah, there's a question mark over Pirog's power at the top level. Of course there is, but we'll see in other fights, assuming he wins this, which is at the moment looking a pretty safe bet.
Again, just trying to open up that defense, get a right and left hook in. Against massive amount of scoring punches as he tries to hook once more underneath that guard of Jantuah.
But that's the impressive thing, isn't it? He's accurate, and he knows how to keep this man under control. He's stopping him getting into the fight.
If he isn't one of these concussive one-punch knockout artists, he's going to be somebody that nobody at the top is going to want to get in the ring with.
Well, he believes in himself so much, and you've just got to draw him into a war and take him on, and you've got to have a certain person who can do that. You've got to take him out of his comfort zone, make him do what he doesn't want to do, make him fight rather than box, and he seems quite happy controlling this kind of pace.
Controlling the pace, controlling the fight and its outcome.
He's enjoying himself. To beat him, you've got to stop him enjoying it. You've got to make him think. You've got to rough him up, do things he doesn't want you to do. At the moment, Jantuah just following him around, really, playing into his hands.
Moments have been very brief for Jantuah. You do get the impression, you think that he thought, perhaps if I just take some of this punishment as we move into the later rounds, maybe I'm going to get some success. But like we said, stamina is one of his key strengths. Takes a few at the end then as he tries to lock him in at close quarters. But again, it's another round in the bag for Pirog.
Well, for Jantuah, this is about getting work, I guess. I mean, if he comes here and he goes 12 rounds with Pirog, loses on points, people will look at that and say, well, he's not as dangerous as he was, is he? But he's still capable. He still gives fighters round, still gives value. So he'll get work.
It's a remarkable, again, that sequence there that we just saw, 5 and 6 punches, all of which were scoring punches, all found their target, but really just don't, at the moment, look as if they hold anywhere near the amount of power that's needed, even to just dislodge Jantuah at the moment.
No, he's not really putting much leverage in. He's not planting his feet, digging himself into the canvas and whacking away. He's just placing them.
Is it possible, his body can presumably become accustomed to actually receiving the amount of punishment that he's been taking for the last 8 rounds? There's no surprises now for Jantuah here at the moment, is there?
I think that's right. I think that's exactly what's happened. Jantuah's become accustomed to it. He's saying, well, I'm not getting hurt, I'm not bothered, okay, I'm taking a few more than I would have hoped to do, but you know, it's no problem going 12 rounds here. At the moment, he seems to have settled for that, which is, you know, sometimes that can be deceptive. Maybe he'll just suddenly burst into life, but we're in round 10 and it hasn't happened so far.
Yeah, and it's such a disappointment for a fighter we know that has got in Jantuah a big punch somewhere to go 10 rounds so far, and we've not seen one of them get anywhere close to landing.
Well, he's not getting in position to do it, and like that, when he thought about throwing it, Pirog had already landed his own and gone away again. It's age, that's all it is.
Took a right to left hand to the chin then that just wobbled his foot, but more being off balance again rather than the power element from Pirog.
Well, that's right. Pirog surprised him, just toyed him into thinking the right hand was coming. Well, he held that back and let go with the left hook. That was better. Somehow he's got a surprise Jantuah, little feints, little moves. It's all about lying and conning in there now, just trying to make your opponent make a mistake. So they can read each other by now.
Wily old operator with Jantuah, then forced out of his shell, and again shipped another load of punishment.
And then he blocks several punches on his arms and gloves then, and then comes back. A couple of left hooks from Jantuah. It's a bit better. No real belief in them, though. Just little reminders to Pirog, that's all. Say, hey, I'm going nowhere. I'm here for the distance.
Again, that hook, the right hook coming underneath the guard once again, as the movement is still as fresh as it was a couple of rounds ago. He's still moving nice and easily.
Yeah, switch to southpaw, which he's done a few times more, and he's confident enough to stand in range and take the odd counter now, Pirog. And maybe he's getting a bit weary in the legs as well.
Well, there's no doubt there'll be a cause for, well, not an over celebration, but a muted celebration if he comes away with this with a unanimous decision, which he's gonna get.
Yeah, a little bit of bandage come loose on the tape, loose on the glove there. Annoying.
Just a reminder, coming up, Dennis backed off against Stefan Kretschmann. That's the main event of the night. 12-round heavyweight contest, and Herbie Hyde's up next against Gebel Hallas in the cruiserweight division. We're thinking it should be an early night for Hyde tonight, should dispatch his opponent, but then you never know as we come to the conclusion of round 10. And again, spontaneous applause for Pirog, who's got another round in the bag. Well, he's breathing fairly easily.
He is. I thought he had a sloppier round in the 10th. Pirog, yeah, he landed his share. Of course he did. He's won the round. But he took a few more. He looked a bit as if he'd just flagged a bit mentally. Maybe he'd pick it up in the 11th.
This is the man, Jantuah, who caused Abraham a good few problems, certainly in the first and the third round of their fight back in 2006. There might have been an upset on the cards initially in that fight, until, of course, Abraham clicked into gear.
Which he does so often, you know. Often he takes 2 or 3 rounds to get himself into a fight after Abraham. Jantuah, yeah, he was livelier then as well. But Pirog, overall, all right, we can be a bit critical and say, well, he's not really built on anything. He's not developed his skills. He's doing the same thing now that he was doing in round 2 and 3. But he's done a pretty comprehensive job so far. And sometimes this is the progress chart you're looking at.
Yeah, remember, it's fight number 14, isn't it?
That's right. And this is against a seasoned operator who's been there and done it and knows exactly what the business is about. And Pirog has dominated him. Sharp right hand from him then.
Jantuah getting a little bit more adventurous in these final couple of rounds as he forces Pirog back onto toward the ropes, but doesn't take too long before he's turned the other way. And Pirog is back in control, and again another volley of punches. He works to the body and the head, tries to split that guard open once more.
And Jantuah's pretty slow, so he's relying on single punches most of the time, which, you know,
might only take one single punch.
It might, but he's not able to get in range for more than one. So Pirog does seem to have flagged a bit mentally here. He's taking breaks in rounds, and Jantuah, he's noticed that straight away. He's coming on a bit more.
The mind of a seasoned pro who's been around for a good number of years. Thought that maybe a weakness was appearing in his opponent, and after losing all 11 rounds so far, smelt possibly a shock on the cards. He comes back to another good right hand though from Pirog.
Yeah, landed a bit high, and he's then, you know, the sharp little left hand's chipping away again. But Jantuah's trying to put a show on here now. He thinks this guy's beginning to tire. It's very, very late in the day, but he's just trying to give a little bit more of himself.
Could be the final few minutes then for Pirog, if he allows Jantuah any success. Remember, he's into uncharted territory. He's never been 12 rounds before.
No, and that must be playing on his mind. You know, he's going to do it comfortably, barring the aforementioned big shot. But Jantuah, I'm sure I saw him just smile a moment or two ago. He's thinking, yeah, this is comfortable now, feeling good.
And the thing is, he's gone through his life. He's only lost 3 fights in this long career of his. He doesn't want to add another defeat to it, you know, which is why when we asked that question, does he really want to win? I mean, he's not going to come in if he didn't have a serious thought that he could win this.
Yeah, before the fight, he would have thought, I'm too experienced for this kid. I can do what I please. I can mess him about and win it. Well, he's just learned he's got a bit older than he thought he had, I think. Well, yeah, you're right. 16 years, 3 defeats. That's not bad, is it? 1 round away, Dmitry Pirog from his best win so far. One that people around the world will notice. You know, the boxing people will notice this one.
Doing his best to just get out the way of some of these punches, but he's done a pretty good job of doing that for most of this fight so far, Jantuah.
Well, his chin's tucked down and he's watchful. His guard's high enough. He gets caught with some, but he blocks plenty as well.
29 years of age then, tomorrow. And he clearly looks like he's a man who's in a bit of a hurry. He'd like to have got Jantuah out of the way much earlier than this.
But he'll settle for 12 good rounds as well. He'll know now that he can do 12 rounds. And in his mind, that's another barrier over. Another part of the learning job done for when if he gets to the top level. Obviously, there's a long way to go yet. He's EBU number 4. Surprisingly, WBO number 3. But I don't think anybody will be throwing him into a world title fight just in the next 2 or 3 fights.
Yeah, it only fought
more learning to do.
I was going to say just 65 rounds boxed before tonight, so you can add another 12 to that total now. And Jantuah again to round 12, still just plodding on really, without offering anything. We've waited all night to see whether or not he can actually unload one of his big shots. The answer is going to be no.
I think Pirog's work's deteriorated in that he's throwing more and more arm punches, putting less and less power into them. And just as I speak, he drills a jab in, but, you know, he's just tired a bit, that's all. I think he accepted quite a while ago that this guy was tough enough to take the shots. He probably knew that on paper, but he wanted to find out for himself. You know, this man went 12 rounds with Artur Abraham. He's a tough old guy. He'll know that. But Jantuah getting closer, scuffling away.
Final minute and a half then. He's continuing what's a pretty exceptional work rate, really, from Pirog. He might have been switching to those arm punches, like you said, but he's still throwing them, isn't he? He's still moving.
Yeah, that's right, and that's kept Jantuah under control most of the way. Last couple of rounds have been more difficult because he's tired, but Pirog, by and large, done a decent job as he goes into the final minute. Boxing on the back foot a bit more here and still picking Jantuah off on the way. And there he is, grinning again, Jantuah. He knows he's nearly there. The money's nearly in the bank.
Oh, that was a good shot from Jantuah.
He saved his best punch for the final minute, but just bounced off Pirog's jaw.
Well, so there's the answer to one of the questions. If he gets hit with a good shot, will he survive it? And that was the best shot that Jantuah has thrown all night. And he brushed it off as if it didn't exist. That was another good left hand from Jantuah. 2 best punches of the night in the final minute.
That had more of an effect. He felt that one. It registered.
Maybe this is what he should have done a little bit earlier on, or maybe done it in bursts. Oh, that was on the back of the head then. Surprised the referee didn't stop that. You can see the crowd reaction behind.
And this is what we wanted to see, and we'll need to see in the future. What happens when somebody backs Pirog up? What happens when they make him have a fight, have a war?
There it is, end of the fight. Referee steps in. Pirog raises his hands to salute the applause. He's won what will be a unanimous decision. Jantuah never really in the fight. A couple of moments toward the end, but he moves onward and upwards. 29 years of age tomorrow. Time marches on, so does his career.
Yeah, whatever the mathematics of the judges at the end, I don't know yet, but they'll all be landslide decisions, you know, 11-1, 12-0, something like that.
What would be your target for him if you were in charge of his immediate career? What would you be looking at next for him?
Whatever openings you can get, as you see a kind of sloppy right hand that was landed around the shoulders from Jantuah, but I think you just see what titles are available and take them. I mean, I don't think world title fights are going to come Pirog's way in the next 6 months, so just get whatever you can. European title, sure. If the opportunity opens up, take it. If not, then you 10-round fights, 12-round fights against good, decent operators on the international circuit.
Well, he's going to savour this victory. Only his 14th fight. Late starter in the game, but he's a late starter, fast learner. Maybe.
That's right. Well, they've got to be very, very pleased. And, you know, if they'd have said before the fight, would you take 11 rounds out of 12 against this guy? 12 rounds out of 12? Sure, I would.
Can't imagine what they're taking so long to add up, mind you, by the way.
They always do, don't they? It's just, you know, higher mathematics. It just eludes people sometimes. 1 to 12.
Now, a bit more to look forward to yet before we leave you here tonight. We've got Denis Baktov against Stefan Kretschmann in a heavyweight contest for the PABA Championship. And then coming up next, though, we have Gebel Hallas against Herbie Hyde.
Here we go. I think.
He's not a dull watch, is he? I mean, that was 12 rounds, hard work, but it wasn't dull to watch, was it?
No, I think he's interesting. He's one of those fighters. He's not explosive, but he's watchable, and you're wondering how far he can go.
Supervisor der WBC, Mauro Betti. Der hat den Gürtel mit.
You'd have thought he might have got bored waiting for this result, as he knows what the outcome is really and just gone.
I don't understand what all this nonsense is about announcing the supervisor. I mean, come on, just give us the scores, for goodness sake. I'm sure that everybody cares who the supervisor is. No offence, Mr. Mauro Betti. People have gone to have a little walk. They know who's won this.
Well, there's the bell.
Diesen Kampf mit 120 zu 109. Jürgen Langos wertet 120 zu 109. Predrag Aleksic wertet 120 zu 108.
Oh, he gave him a round.
WBC International Champion im Mittelgewicht ist Dmitry Pirog.
So there he is, Dmitry Pirog. Will collect the belt. Appreciation from his opponent tonight, Kofi Jantuah.
Yep, good performance. Well done, Pirog. We'll see him again, no doubt. And Jantuah will get plenty more work off the back of that. Hopefully he'll get something a little bit easier for him next time. I think I caught the scores, or at least two of them, 120, 109, 120, 108. Well, it was Lance.